one of the few things that I do have from my father who worked on Project Apollo, he wasn't one for collecting artifacts or anything like this, but one of the things that he did leave for us was this. This is a 3-ring binder that dates back to the 1960s and was used to contain the materials for the instrumentation unit on the Saturn V. My dad worked on that particular project, which was the part of the launch rocket that beamed the health and happiness of everything on board back to the ground controllers. And so when they got rid of all these binders after Apollo was over and didn't need them anymore because the Saturn V's weren't flowing, he got a couple of these and he gave one of these each to myself and my 2 brothers. And I still have this. So this binder is almost as old as I am. So, and it once contained the information they had to help work on the instruments for Saturn V. We grew up in the atmosphere of Apollo because my father worked for Delco Electronics and is part of AC Sparkplug, which is part of General Motors. In the early days of Apollo and in the days before Apollo flew, he worked on the instrumentation unit of the Saturn V rocket that talked to the ground controllers about all the pressures and temperatures and this kind of thing. After the Saturn V flew, he worked on another contract with the same group. He worked for General Motors all his life, but he worked on the lunar rover, and he worked on the wiring, or the wire wheels for the lunar rover because you couldn't have a pressurized rubber tire on the moon, and worked on the propulsion systems for the lunar rover. And he worked on that for a number of years until the lunar program ended. And so growing up, this was the big thing of this is what my dad did. He worked on Apollo, and he worked on that through many years until I was in my late teens, and then he moved on to other projects with General Motors. You know, eventually he worked for General Motors for 44 years before he retired as a manufacturing engineer.